A poor nurse got a wrong call at 3:00 a.m. She showed up anyway, and the single dad CEO never let her leave. New York, early winter. The city lights outside Olivia's apartment flickered through the thin blinds like distant stars. It was 2:30 a.m. when she finally collapsed onto her narrow bed. Her scrubs were wrinkled. Her blonde hair clung damply to her forehead. Her legs ached from the 14-hour emergency room shift she had just survived. The cold from the cracked window bit at her ankles, but she was too tired to care. She had just pulled off her surgical mask and was drifting into a half-sleep when her phone rang. The sharp sound sliced through the silence like a siren. Olivia groaned, rubbed her eyes, and blinked at the unfamiliar number on the screen. She answered. "Mama, Daddy's chest hurts again," a small voice whimpered. Olivia sat up, instantly alert. "Think you have the wrong number, sweetheart?" "Who is this?" The girl's voice trembled. You're not... Mama? Are you a doctor?" Olivia's voice softened. "I'm a nurse." "What's happening, honey?" "Daddy? Can't breathe. He's on the floor. Please help." Olivia's pulse quickened. "Where are you?" "I don't know. Our house is white. It has a black fence and there's a red light in front. Mama wrote this number for emergencies." The child's voice cracked, and Olivia's heart broke a little. "I'm coming," she said, without thinking. Still in her scrubs, Olivia grabbed her emergency kit, shoved her phone in her pocket, and raced out into the cold. The rain had started, light but icy. Her breath came out in a fog as she got into her old car and pulled out of the driveway. She drove aimlessly at first, scanning every house, every street, lamp. The neighborhoods blurred together. In the shadows, her hands clenched, the steering wheel knuckles white. Then she saw it. An aging white house with a black wrought iron fence and a flickering red porch light. She parked at the curb, ran up the steps, and knocked hard. The door creaked open. A little girl, no older than 4, stood barefoot, her cheeks wet with tears. "You came," she whispered. "I told you I would," Olivia said, gently. The girl led her inside. In the living room, a man lay, collapsed on the floor, gasping, clutching his chest. Without hesitation, Olivia dropped to her knees, opened her bag, and began emergency treatment. His lips were pale. His breaths came in shallow rasps. She reached for her inhaler, applied pressure, and talked to him, steadily, even though he could not respond. Finally, after long minutes, the man's breathing slowed. His chest rose and fell, no longer violently. His eyelids fluttered. He looked up at her, confused. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice hoarse. Olivia exhaled shakily. "A little girl called me. She thought I was someone else, but she believed I could help, so I came." The man blinked slowly, and for the first time, Olivia saw his face in the full light. He had an angular jaw, hollowed cheeks, and exhausted eyes that must have once been bright. He was clearly no ordinary man, but at that moment none of that mattered. Because tonight, a child's desperate belief had found its way into the hands of someone who would not let her down. The living room was dimly lit, shadows stretching across the walls. Olivia sat on the edge of the couch, her emergency bag still open, beside her. The faint sound of an ambulance grew louder in the distance. She had done everything she could, for now, Noah was breathing steadily again, though his skin still looked pale and drawn. A groan broke the silence. Noah stirred on the rug, lifting a hand to his chest. Then his eyes opened slowly. He blinked at the ceiling, then turned his head and saw her. "You're not from the hospital," he said hoarsely, his voice cracking. "Who are you?" Olivia stood, brushing off her knees. "I'm a nurse. I just got off my shift. I got a call from a child who said her father couldn't breathe." Noah's brow furrowed. "A call from who?" Before Olivia could answer, small footsteps echoed down the stairs. A little girl with messy dark hair and tear-streaked cheeks emerged from the shadows, clutching a stuffed rabbit to her chest. "Lily," Noah whispered. He tried to sit up, but Olivia gently placed a hand on his shoulder. "Don't strain yourself." Olivia crouched down to the girl's level. "Was it you who called me, sweetie?" Lily nodded slowly. I pushed the number Mommy gave me for when Daddy was sick. Olivia's heart clenched. And your mommy? Where is she? The girl shook her head. She's in the sky like the stars. Noah closed his eyes, briefly as if the words struck something deep inside him. Olivia looked from Lily to him and back again. I think your mom had my number before, Olivia said, softly. Phone companies reuse them. I guess it just ended up with me. Lily's bottom lip trembled. But, you answered. You came. I did, Olivia said. And you were so brave to call. There was a knock on the door. The EMTs had arrived. Olivia guided them in and gave a quick report. They stabilized Noah, took his vitals, and set up a portable oxygen mask. He declined a trip to the hospital, for now insisting he would follow up with his doctor in the morning. When the commotion settled and the paramedics left, Olivia turned to go. Her eyes felt gritty with exhaustion. Her scrubs clung cold to her skin, and dawn was only an hour away. But as she reached for her coat, a small tug stopped her. It was Lily. The child's tiny fingers gripped the hem of Olivia's shirt. Can you stay just a little bit longer? She asked, her eyes wide and pleading. Olivia hesitated. Noah tried to sit up again, watching them. You've done enough, he said, his voice low but sincere. You really didn't have to. Come here. Olivia met his gaze. Maybe not, but someone called for help. And I'm not the kind of person who ignores that. Noah looked at his daughter, then back at Olivia. She hasn't talked much since her mom passed. She never calls anyone. I don't even know how she remembered that number, I guess, Olivia said, gently lifting Lily into her lap. Sometimes the heart remembers what the mind forgets. The room was quiet again. Olivia sat there holding Lily as the child leaned her head on her shoulder. Noah rested back on the couch, his breathing slow and even. And in that small circle of silence, bound by grief, instinct, and one misplaced call, something fragile and new began to form like the first warmth before sunrise. The clock on the mantel struck 5. Olivia had meant to leave long ago. Her shift had ended hours earlier, and exhaustion pulled at every fiber of her being. Yet she stayed, her legs folded. Under her, on the living room rug, a warm blanket draped over her shoulders. Lily, now curled against her side, let out a soft sigh as Olivia gently ran her fingers through the girl's tangled hair. The living room had grown quieter, more peaceful as the early morning light crept in through the curtains. They had gone through 2 picture books, well-worn ones with torn corners and faint crayon scribbles. Olivia had fetched a warm bottle of milk from the fridge, guessing where things were by instinct. She had held Lily when the little girl's breath caught with grief, mid-sentence, and whispered stories of brave owls and starry skies until her sobs turned into yawns. Noah, still weak but now alert, had watched from the couch with a blanket over his legs. His breathing was less labored, the tightness in his chest relieved, thanks to Olivia's quick actions. He hadn't spoken much, his voice still quiet, but his eyes never strayed far from the sight of his daughter. She was finally asleep, wrapped in warmth and comfort, clinging to a stranger as if she had known her all her life. It stirred something in him, a strange mixture of guilt, gratitude, and something else he could not yet name. I'm not sure how to thank you, he said finally, breaking the silence. Olivia looked up. You don't need to. You saved my life. I was just there, she replied softly. At the right time. He leaned back against the cushions, exhaling slowly. No, you were what she needed. What I needed, even if it was by mistake, Olivia smiled, faintly brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. She's a strong little girl. She knew what to do. Most adults would panic. She hasn't spoken to anyone like that in over a year, Noah murmured. Since her mother passed. I tried therapists, school, counselors, nothing worked. Then tonight you, Olivia's eyes drifted back to the child nestled at her side. Maybe she just needed to be the one helping someone this time. Sometimes that's how healing starts. The room fell silent. Again, a shared stillness, a stillness of survivors. As the sun began to rise, Olivia gently lifted Lily and carried her to the small bed upstairs. She tucked the covers around her, pausing to smooth down her hair. She lingered for a moment watching. The child breathed peacefully, then tiptoed back downstairs. Noah was sitting upright now, the oxygen mask resting beside him. "Could I ask you something?" he said, his tone uncertain. "Of course. Would you consider coming by again, just for a bit?" Don't know what this was. I don't expect anything. But Lily, I haven't seen her that calm since Anna died. Olivia looked at him. For a long time. The exhaustion behind his eyes was deeper than what a single night of missed sleep could cause. It was the kind that came from carrying too much for too long, alone. "I work most nights," she said gently, "and I have classes during the day." He nodded quickly. "I understand. It was just..." He cut himself off, not wanting to sound desperate. Olivia picked up her things. "It was a strange night," he chuckled. Dryly, that's one way to put it. She walked to the door, pulled it, opened, then paused. Slowly she turned back and reached into her bag. From a side pocket she took out a sealed box and placed it on the side table. "An emergency inhaler," she said, for the next time you forget your meds. "You're not billing me for that, are you?" he teased, raising a brow. "No," she said with a small smirk. "But I might stop by to check your pulse now and then. Free of charge." Noah smiled. It wasn't a wide smile, not perfect, but it was real. And that was something he hadn't felt in weeks. Olivia stepped outside, pulling her coat tighter against the early morning chill. The street was still quiet, bathed in a pale orange light. As she walked to her car, she glanced back once at the small white house, the house with the red porch light, and the child who had dialed the wrong number that turned out to be exactly right. She didn't know what would come next. But for now, she knew she would return. Not out of obligation, not out of pity, but because something about this broken little family had settled deep inside her and she wasn't ready to let go. Each day now began the same way. Olivia would arrive at the white house with the iron fence and red porch light around 9 a.m., always bringing something small, a storybook, a fresh pastry, or a new coloring set for Lily. The little girl would wait at the window, her nose pressed against the glass, waving as Olivia pulled up. Noah usually watched from the kitchen, silently sipping coffee, half grateful and half unsure of what this new routine was becoming. Olivia never stayed long at first. Just an hour or two. She would read to Lily, make her laugh, pick up scattered toys, and gently remind Noah to take his medication or eat something that wasn't reheated pizza. She never imposed. Yet somehow she became part of the rhythm of the house. Not loud, not flashy, just present. One morning, Lily tugged Olivia into her tiny art corner and showed her a crayon drawing. It was a stick figure with long, yellow hair standing between two other figures, one tall. "That's you," she said proudly, pointing to the figure in the middle. "Me and Daddy are holding your hand so you don't get lost." Olivia's heart clenched. Noah saw the drawing later that day and said nothing. But when Olivia went to the kitchen, she found a note beside a cup of tea he had brewed for her. It just said, "Thanks for not getting lost." That evening, after Lily had gone to bed and the house settled into its usual soft hush, Olivia and Noah sat on opposite ends of the living room couch. A documentary about marine life played on the TV, but neither of them was really watching. "Do you ever miss it?" Olivia asked, suddenly breaking the silence. Noah looked up. "Miss what?" "Running a company, wearing suits, giving TED Talks." A dry chuckle escaped his lips. "I used to think I was important, that what I built mattered." He paused, his eyes drifting toward the fireplace. "But after Anna died, I couldn't walk into that office without feeling like a fraud." "You left because of her," Olivia said quietly. Noah nodded. "They said it was a routine surgery. An easy one." She even laughed when I dropped her off that morning. His voice cracked slightly. "I signed the admission papers. I left her there. And when they called me hours later, it wasn't to say she was in. recovery. "I'm so sorry," Olivia said. He turned to her, his eyes hollow, but steady. "I hate hospitals. Olivia. I hate the way they smell. I hate the way they feel. I hate that I gave her to a system that couldn't bring her back." She didn't answer. There was no answer to give, only silence. And sometimes that was enough. The next few days passed quietly, but Olivia felt the lines around her blurring. She was here almost every day now. She knew where the cereal was kept. She knew which shampoo Lily liked and which lights buzzed if left on too long. She knew Noah's routine: coffee by 7, first email by 8, pacing the hallway by 9. And yet she didn't live here. She wasn't part of this world. One afternoon she sat alone in her car after leaving their house. Her hands gripped the steering wheel longer than needed. Her chest felt tight, not from pain, but from the confusion that swirled inside her like a fog. This wasn't her family. This wasn't her life. That night she pulled out a pen and wrote her nursing supervisor an email. It was simple and polite, a request for a few days off, citing the need for personal reflection. She needed space. Not because something had gone wrong, but because something was starting to feel right. Too right. The next morning she arrived at Noah's door, not with a coloring book, but with an envelope. "I need a few days," she said, offering a small, sad smile. "To think. To breathe." Noah stared at her for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Okay." Lily came running down the stairs, arms outstretched. "Are we reading today?" Olivia crouched down, kissed the girl's forehead, and whispered, "Not today, sweetheart, but soon." As she walked away from the house, Olivia felt a strange ache. It was like leaving something behind that she hadn't quite been ready to name. Not love, not yet, but something dangerously close. Back at the hospital, everything felt off. The familiar rhythm of charting vitals, adjusting IVs, and answering code calls should have grounded Olivia. It used to. But now the sterile lights felt colder, the hallways more echoing. Her uniform felt tighter against her chest, like something that no longer fit. She moved through the wards with practiced grace, but with dulled eyes. The patients were the same, the procedures unchanged, but something inside her had shifted. It had only been 4 days since she walked away from that little White House. 4 days since she hugged Lily goodbye and handed Noah that envelope. 4 days. But it felt like an absence far longer than time could measure. Her phone buzzed during her lunch break. Lily's name flashed across the screen. A message had come through the kid's safe tablet Olivia had helped Noah set up weeks earlier. A drawing appeared. Crayon stick figures. 3 of them, one tall, one small, and one in the middle with yellow hair. Underneath, clumsy letters spelled out, "I miss you." Olivia stared at the screen, her heart caught between guilt and longing. Seconds later, another message arrived, this time from Noah. "Lily hasn't been sleeping. She thinks you left because of her." No emoji, no follow-up. Just the cold, hard facts. Olivia locked the phone and exhaled. The noise of the hospital hummed on, but inside her, everything was very, very still. She didn't reply. Not to Lily, not to Noah. Instead, she took a walk during her break, headphones in, playing soft lullabies as if trying to drown out her own thoughts. She sat by a fountain in the courtyard, watching leaves fall, letting the cool air bite her skin to remind her she was still here. She had promised herself she would not become another hole filler in someone's broken life. She had seen too many patients, too many families who leaned on someone just because they were available, not because they were truly wanted. Olivia refused to be that. She would not be Anna's shadow. And yet, when she closed her eyes, she saw Lily's sleepy smile as she traced constellations on her ceiling with a flashlight. She heard Noah's voice as he whispered, "Thanks for not getting lost," over a shared mug of tea. She remembered the warmth, not just of the house, but of being needed, without being used. That night, she recorded a short audio message and uploaded it to Lily's tablet account. Her voice was calm, warm, and steady. Tonight's story is about a brave little fox who lost her way in the woods, but she was never really alone. She never said her name, never mentioned Noah, but the story was one Lily would know was meant just for her. And somewhere in the quiet of that White House Noah listened to. He replayed the clip after Lily fell asleep, sitting alone in the dark kitchen. The tea had gone cold, but he sat there anyway, the tablet screen glowing, Olivia's voice like a memory that wouldn't fade. By the 5th day, Olivia stopped checking her phone so often. She tried to refocus. She told herself she needed space, but the ache didn't leave. It just settled deeper, quieter, like a violin string pulled taut, but never played. On the 6th night, just past midnight, her phone rang. Not a message, not a voicemail. A call. From Noah. She answered before the second ring. "Lily's sick," he said, his voice tight with panic. "High fever. She's been crying for hours. She's asking for you." Olivia was already reaching for her coat. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. No hesitation, no questions. When she arrived, the porch light was on, the same red glow. The door cracked open before she even knocked. Noah stood there, eyes tired, shirt wrinkled. He didn't say anything. He just stepped aside to let her in. Lily was on the couch, cheeks flushed, curls damp with sweat. She whimpered as Olivia approached, but quieted the moment Olivia took her hand. "I came," Olivia whispered. The child nodded weakly. "I knew you would." Noah watched from the doorway. He said nothing, but his shoulders dropped in the kind of release that only comes when someone else finally offers to carry the weight with you. Olivia sat on the edge of the couch, all night wiping Lily's forehead with cool cloths, murmuring stories about foxes and stars. She didn't need an invitation. She was already home. The air inside the little white house was warm, but Olivia's fingers trembled as she reached for the thermometer. Lily lay curled on the couch, her small body wrapped in a fleece blanket covered in cartoon stars. Her cheeks were flushed, her curls matted to her forehead. Olivia sat on the edge, brushing the hair back gently, murmuring soft nothings that were more prayer than comfort. In the kitchen, Noah paced. He had turned over every drawer, every cabinet. Bottles clinked, drawers slammed, and his voice, usually so composed and controlled, cracked. "Where the hell is the acetaminophen?" Olivia didn't look up. "Cabinet over the fridge, upper right." Noah froze, mid-step. Then, in silence, he retrieved the bottle and set it beside Olivia, without a word. They worked like a team, the way they always did in those silent moments. Lily's fever had dropped slightly, thanks to the cold compress and medication, but Olivia stayed. She stayed long after she could have left, long after Noah stopped pacing. When Lily finally drifted off into an uneasy sleep, Olivia exhaled. She stood, adjusting the blanket, then stepped back into the kitchen, where Noah sat slumped at the table, one hand gripping a mug of untouched tea. Olivia poured herself a glass of water. Her voice was steady when she spoke. "I didn't come back for you." Noah looked up, startled. She continued, "I came because child was scared, because I couldn't ignore her voice." "That's it?" Noah nodded slowly, his eyes dark with something unreadable. He didn't argue, didn't plead. "No," he said simply. Olivia folded her arms, leaning against the counter. The silence stretched between them, like the fragile bridge they had yet to cross. Then, slowly, Noah reached into the inner pocket of his coat, pulling out a folded piece of paper. He slid it across the table toward her. Olivia glanced down, her brows furrowed as she read the header. "Reinstatement application, New York State Medical Board." She blinked, confused. "You?" she asked. He met her gaze. "I never told anyone, but I was a licensed trauma surgeon before I transitioned to administration. After Anna, I walked away from it. All. Board membership, consulting, everything. I didn't think I could trust myself to help another patient. Not after." His voice trailed off, but Olivia didn't press. She understood that sometimes silence held more truth than words. He tapped the paper. "But then you came." You showed up when no one else would. You didn't even hesitate. She looked at the form again, her heart tightening. You're applying to return? He gave a short nod. Not as a CEO. Not in a boardroom. Just to help again. Maybe part-time. Maybe at a clinic. Something real. Olivia stared at him. And in that moment, something inside her softened, not out of sympathy, but recognition. This wasn't a man looking to be saved. This was a man quietly choosing to rise again. She placed a hand on the form, gently smoothing the edges. Yeah, don't need me here for that. No, he said, but I wouldn't have remembered that I could still be that man if you hadn't come. She looked away, biting her lip, her throat feeling tight. Then he stood, walking toward her. Not too close, but close enough for her to see the tired hope in his eyes. If there's ever a day you feel ready, he said, his voice lower now, almost fragile. Don't just come for Lily? She met his gaze. Come for yourself. Come for what this could be if you'd let it. Olivia didn't answer. Not right away. Instead, she walked past him, back to the couch, crouching beside Lily. Once more, she stroked the little girl's hand and saw it twitch as Lily stirred, leaning into the touch even in her sleep. She closed her eyes. Maybe she had come for the child. But maybe, just maybe, there was a part of her that had missed the feeling of being seen, not as a caregiver or a savior, but as someone worth staying for. That night, Olivia stayed until the sky turned lavender in the city. Lights dimmed. She left quietly before dawn, but this time her steps were not those of someone running away. They were the steps of someone who was finally, truly coming back. 1 year later, the neighborhood looked different to Olivia, not because the streets had changed, but because she had. Gone were the late-night ER shifts, the endless paperwork, and the bleached hallways that once consumed her days and nights. She had traded the sterile scent of antiseptic for the crisp air of early mornings and the laughter of children. Her apartment was now a small, one-bedroom above a bakery, just 3 blocks from Noah's home. It was modest with mismatched furniture and sun-faded curtains, but it was hers. For the first time in years, Olivia chose where to be, and she chose here. She no longer wore scrubs. Instead, every morning she opened the doors to a converted garage that served as her community first aid classroom. Inside were rows of child-sized mannequins, posters on Heimlich techniques, shelves of bandages and plastic stethoscopes, and a HESIO whiteboard with daily lesson topics. Lily was always the first to arrive. Now 5. The little girl entered, each class with her backpack bouncing and her curls tied up in a messy ponytail. She would march up to Olivia, flash her a toothy grin, and announce, "I checked Daddy's blood pressure this morning. He's fine." Olivia would pretend to gasp in awe. "Well, Nurse Lily, you're promoted to junior medic." Immediately, every child in the class adored her, but none more than Lily, who insisted on calling Olivia Coach Liv. Noah always said that was her way of keeping Olivia hers, unique, apart from everyone else. Noah himself had begun volunteering, twice a week helping fix the classroom plumbing and building extra shelves. He brought snacks, always the organic kind that Olivia secretly found bland but appreciated nonetheless. He never pushed, never asked, but he stayed. One Saturday morning, Olivia found a note on the bulletin board. It was hand-drawn with purple crayon. "Today is the day, Lily." She smiled, puzzled. The answer came that evening. The local community center was hosting its annual awards night. Olivia had been nominated by several residents for her public health contributions, especially for her work teaching families basic emergency care. She hadn't planned to attend. She preferred quiet corners and behind-the-scenes efforts. But Noah gently insisted, so she went. The auditorium was crowded, warm, with body heat and the buzz of neighbors reconnecting. Olivia sat in the back, her hair tucked behind her ears, her heart quietly pounding. Then she heard her name. She looked up just in time to see Lily, dressed in a white blouse and blue skirt, step up to the podium, the microphone nearly taller than she was. The MC whispered something to her. adjusting the mic. Then Lily cleared her throat. My name is Lily Campbell. I'm 5. I used to get really scared at night, especially when my dad got sick. But then I met someone brave. The audience fell silent. She came to my house because I called my mom. But she came anyway, even though she wasn't my mom. Lily paused, her small voice steady but emotional. She's not my mom, but she's the person I want to be. Like most when I grow up. There was a beat of silence, then thunderous applause. Olivia didn't move. She couldn't. Her throat tightened, her hands shook, and her vision blurred as tears filled her eyes. Then a warm hand found hers. She looked down. Noah stood beside her, silent, his expression soft but sure. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. His fingers laced with hers gently but firmly. Olivia turned back toward the stage, tears slipping down her cheek. It wasn't a grand declaration, not a proposal or a dramatic reunion. It was something quieter, stronger. It was a feeling of being seen, of being wanted, of being home. 2 years after that first call, the sun hung low in the sky, casting long golden stripes across the white picket fence that framed their quiet backyard. A gentle spring breeze whispered through the leaves of the maple tree, and the scent of fresh cookies drifted from the open kitchen window. The afternoon carried that rare stillness, the kind that makes you pause, breathe, and feel truly at peace. Olivia sat cross-legged on a checkered blanket, her simple white dress fluttering in the breeze. Across the grass, Lily, now a confident little girl, was meticulously placing flower petals in a basket, her blonde curl bouncing with each movement. Noah sat nearby on a wooden bench, a book open in his lap, but his eyes were unread. His gaze never left them. He rose from the bench and walked toward Olivia, kneeling on the blanket in front of her. He reached into his pocket and produced a small wooden box, smooth and simple, worn at the edges as if it had been held many times. He placed it gently in Olivia's hand. "Open it," he said, his voice low and full of emotion. She opened the lid. Inside was a silver ring, plain and elegant. There were no stones, just a subtle engraving on the inside curve. It read, "Answered at 3 a.m." She looked up at him, her eyes wide, with unshed tears. "I never planned to love again," Noah said, his voice steady but soft. "But that night, when you showed up without knowing who I was, tired and still willing to come, you didn't just save my life. You stepped into it like you were always meant to be here." Olivia's eyes shimmered. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. She closed the box gently, then leaned forward and rested her forehead against his. Noah exhaled slowly, as if something he had held inside for too long was finally released. Then a giggle broke the silence. Lily ran over and wrapped her small arms around both of them. "Group hug," she squealed. "Forever team." Olivia laughed, tears finally slipping silently down her cheeks. Noah pulled them both closer, and for a long moment they just held each other. They didn't need a big wedding or fancy rings to prove it. They were already a family, and all it had taken was one wrong call. As the sun dipped behind the rooftops and the shadows lengthened across the yard, the three of them remained there, entwined in each other's arms in the quiet warmth of a life they had chosen together. Sometimes the people we are meant to love do not come to us by blood, but by accident, by grace, by the courage to answer when no one else would. And sometimes the wrong number is the beginning of everything right. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey, a tale born from a single wrong call and the courage of a little girl. In a world that often feels disconnected, it is stories like this that remind us love doesn't always knock at the front door. Sometimes it rings at 3 a.m. and asks, "Can you help?" If this story touched your heart, if it made you believe once again in the quiet power of kindness and the unexpected beauty of a found family, please like, share, and most importantly, subscribe to Soul Stirring Stories. Because somewhere out there, someone needs a reminder that hope can come from anywhere, even from the sound of a phone in the middle of the night. Stay with us for more stories that heal, that inspire, and that stay with you long after the last word is spoken. This is Soul Stirring Stories, where every tale is a heartbeat,